Hello everybody, this is Drew Thomas here. Now, I decided to make this sort of a spinoff of Why I Hate. Whom I Can is still going to be Why I Hate. In fact, I'm just going to entitle it Why I Hate this episode. But I decided I'm going to start doing Why I Hate videos on SpongeBob episodes that are not the best ones. And I thought, what a better place to start than this episode? So be prepared because there's going to be a lot of ranting and cursing, so be prepared for a really heated rant. Alright? Now that that's out of the way, let's tear right into this bitch. What the fuck, SpongeBob? What the fuck were you thinking? Like, what the fuck were the creators or the writers behind SpongeBob thinking that this episode alone was acceptable? Like, this is an unacceptable episode, and it's an excuse of a SpongeBob episode. The episode focuses on SpongeBob feeling bad for Gary because he thought he wanted to go for a walk, but he was just grabbing the rope, or he grabbed the leash because he was excited for him to leave. I wonder why. And then he just goes to the Krusty Krab, telling him about the strict no pet policy, and then eventually he started feeling more bad for Gary, and then eventually, as he was walking home, he comes across this like hagfish who is like, she's selling these animals. I'm not even sure what the hell they even are, but oh well. So SpongeBob, being an oblivious fucking moron, decides to get one of them, despite hearing the lady say that they were dangerous, especially around other pets. But he took one anyway. Yeah. SpongeBob hasn't been the brightest in like the classic series, but he would never go this far. Heck in season 4 he was still a decent character because Gary left the house, and which we'll get to that later. But anyway, this episode is just, it's really gonna piss me off the more I talk about this, but here we go. As soon as SpongeBob brings in Puffy Fluffy, which is what he decides to name it, eventually he forces Gary to share his food with him, which I understand that, but well, all he was doing was just taking a small nibble. What the fuck? Let him eat! So what if he's, just taking a little bite of the food you gave to him? I mean, why are you acting like an asshole because he's eating the food you gave to him? I mean, why are you giving more attention to the monster? The Puffy Fluffy. So he just sits down on his square ass and eats his enchiladas, and then after Gary tries to tell SpongeBob about what's going on, he eventually sends him off to bed. And he just gets on this Gary constantly because he is showing disrespect towards Puffy Fluffy. I wonder why. Probably because he's a monster. Anyway, carrying on. Pretty soon, the Puffy Fluffy escapes its fluffy exterior and then reveals to be a monster with like these 3 mouths! Or 4 mouths! I don't even know, or 5, I don't know, what the fuck? It has this tongue that has like these mouths on it. It's fucking terrifying. And he pretty much torments Gary for the whole night. The whole rest of the episode is just him tearing through SpongeBob's house, terrorizing the poor snail. Honestly, after that, he pretty much is getting ready to eat Gary. And guess what? This is where things get... this is where it gets fucking stupid. SpongeBob thinks it's Gary who caused the mess, and then he sees him held by Puffy Fluffy and tells him, "Gary, you put Fluffy down right now." Oh my gosh, this episode is awesome. Not really. Holy fucking shit. And then even after SpongeBob almost gets eaten by him, Gary saves his life. I would have just let the monster eat SpongeBob. Make that the last episode, and we'd be better off in peace. But no, he had to be freed, and he was so grateful, saying, "Thank you for saving my life, Gary." Nope, he did not say that. Instead, he just said, "Well, Gary, what do you have to say for yourself?" Gary just gives an annoyed look and just goes to the Krusty Krab with SpongeBob. After the this episode is pointless. I'm just gonna say that. What the fuck were they thinking when they made this episode? This is a huge disgrace in the SpongeBob episode lineup. I don't see how anyone could like this episode. Because it is so mean-spirited. SpongeBob is so oblivious. And to think that we all loved this guy and thought he was a great character, only to see him just be a jerk. Is it any wonder why Gary left him in a previous episode? I wouldn't be surprised if Gary left him again. But he wouldn't care in this season because SpongeBob's just oblivious. But honestly, they should have rewrote this episode to have, Gary actually, to have SpongeBob actually feel worried about Gary, telling Puffy Fluffy to put Gary down, realizing that it was wrong to get that monster. But no, the writers just had to make the most stupid decision alive. I don't know whose bright idea was to do this, but they need to get fired and have no severance package, become homeless, and have nothing but just shameful art for the rest of their life, because the writers who wrote this episode are just monsters. What were they thinking? Honestly, I wish that they just wrote an apology for making this episode. Because honestly, there's been a lot of good and bad episodes of SpongeBob, but this episode is just gosh awful. Like, why the hell would they make this shit? I don't see how anyone will say this is a great episode, because it's not. What makes it worse is that it's paired up with Keep Bikini Bottom Beautiful, which, in that episode, it's basically Squidward gets accused of littering gum, and then he is sentenced to community service, and this stupid cop keeps following him every time he drops trash. He pops up, and then he just writes him a ticket. And then when the ticket slips off, he accuses them of littering, and I don't want to talk anymore about this episode. Both halves of this episode are just terrible. By far the worst episode of SpongeBob in the entire world, in my opinion. And they think One Course Meal is bad, but this is worse. Because this is unjustified. How SpongeBob is treating Gary. What the fuck? I am never watching this episode again. Like, if I do a SpongeBob binge watch, I'm skipping this and a few other episodes I cannot watch. Because this is just not good. It is the worst SpongeBob episode in the history of SpongeBob. And I refuse to have anyone tell me otherwise. If you do like this episode, I can handle your opinion, but keep in mind that this is not who SpongeBob's meant to be. Anyway, let me know what SpongeBob episode I should cover next. Yes, I'm actually leaving this open for requests for SpongeBob reviews, because if it's an episode I hate, I will talk about it, but if you bombard me with stupid requests, then it will be declined, like characters I don't like watching THX or something like that, because that will just be an automatic no. But feel free to suggest some SpongeBob episodes for me to tear into, because this is a huge disgrace. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Subscribe to this channel and subscribe to my other channel, Mr. Conductor channel. I'm hoping to start posting on that again. And be sure to subscribe to my friends too. Anyway, this is Drew Thomas signing off. Good night, and this episode blows.